Welcome back to the channel. It's just a brief update. This is the previous car we had on the dyno. This car made 550 horsepower on E85 at the crank. But what we did notice is we just noticed that we kind of started to run out of injector duty cycle at the top end, and it was kind of a little bit out of character because we'd been okay up until a certain point, and then it just started to run away. It kind of suggested that we're running out of fuel pump, and when we looked at the data, because the data generates all the channels that we need to do, it kind of backed all of that up. So what you can see here, if you look at this purple graph just here, you can kind of see that the injector duty cycle is kind of following a load value. Then we get to about this point, and then it accelerates vertically really rapidly. Okay, so what you need to do, if you look down here and across to our fuel flow, you can kind of see we're around that 3.6 liters a minute value. And that's when we just started to run out of a bit of flow, and we had like a Bosch BR540 pump in there, which is more than capable of doing what we had. But the whole process with doing this particular car was to try and keep it as factory as we could, but still keep it safe, which is how we tuned the whole car and how we like chased where we were going to go with the whole thing. So look, the bottom line was it needed to be safe, but we need to try and achieve the best that we possibly could. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to bring up this graph, and this is a graph from just a tooling factor that we found on the website. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to show you So what we're doing here is the factory line is like a 7.95 millimeter line effectively, but we'll run at 8 because that's happy. We've got a 550 kPa regulator inside the tank, which is 5.5 bar, so we'll put that there. And if you actually work out the length of the system for it to run forward, it actually comes out of the tank, it runs across the tank, down the fuel filter, back up, across the top of the tank, back down, and then it runs forward. So it's actually a little bit in excess of 5 meters, but let's just run on 5 meters. So what you can see over here, if you look at this value here, is that size pipe at that pressure, at that length, can deliver 3.6 liters a minute. That's all. What we're going to do now is just come back down here and see where our calculations are at. And if you look at down here, a fuel flow liters a minute, it's pretty close. It's actually 3.6. So like the math correlates with the result that we've dragged out of the car. So effectively, and like this was the option when we did this car, was to try and maintain factory as much as possible. This is pretty much as far as we can go. So this whole area up here, the injector's opening more to compensate for a lack in flow, and it's not just a bad thing, but you just have to understand that's where you're going. Effectively, because of the length of the fuel system, or the fuel pipe that we have to run to the front of the car, we're just running out of the capacity to be able to squeeze that much fuel to the engine out of the line that we actually have. Okay, so what we're going to do now is just going to come back here. So what we've currently got in development, and it's probably about a 2-week wait list away, is we're actually going to have a kit that you can buy and installed a 10mm line going forward, and we move the fuel filter from beside the tank to up beside the timing belt engine mount area, and we put the non-return one-way valve up there, and everything works fine. We delete the fuel pressure reg at the back. So what this means is that even at max pressure, if we're going to run it to, let's just say 1.8, the factory fuel pressure reg that dropped the value down in the rail was a 3-bar reg effectively. So let's just say we're going to go 4.8, and now we've actually got length of less than 3. So if we look at that, we've actually doubled the amount of flow that we can now actually get forward into the system. So we're now at like 9.7. Before that we're at 3.6. So look, it's almost, it's 2.5 times. It's almost, yeah, it's 2.5 times the amount of flow that we can get forward. So this is going to dramatically increase the horsepower number that we can achieve. So this is a kit we're going to have available. It'll basically almost be a bolting kit. You have to like run a line up, a couple lines at the fuel pressure reg, and you've got all the keyboard warriors like going ballistic right at this point of view, saying, oh yeah, but you've only got like a -5 or an 8mm line, you can't possibly do that. And yes, we have an 8mm line. I'm just going to do the sums now. So it's actually 7.95, but let's work on 8, and we're going to go this, and we're going to go length of 0.2. We'll go 0.25. It's actually a 200mm line we have from the top of the 5 to the outlet on the top of the tank. You can see from this we haven't lost anything. We've still got the same flow. So don't get carried away about that part of the whole equation. We can still maintain that 9.5 litres a minute flow up to the fuel rail, and you have to remember that with this new system, we're actually going to delete that in-rail pressure sensor, because we're now putting an external turbo smart fuel pressure reg, which will deliver the same kind of effect, but we're going to have this happening. So now we've got a much larger potential for fuel delivery going forward. So I'm just going to change our values here. We're going to go back to what it's going to be from where the pump comes up. You can see it's still the same. We're going to have 9.7 litres a minute. Before this, when we had the fuel pressure dropped away, we were down 3.6. So 2.5 times more. We now have much more fuel capacity available at the engine than what we've had before. That's all it comes back to. I'm just going to drag up now the data file where all of this stuff was calculated, and you can see that once we get to this 3.6 value, then our ramp rate screams up because we can't get enough pressure through the rig. So what this kit that we've got coming will be, it's from an 8mm line, which is actually 7.95, to an 8mm line going forward, and then we use that 7.95mm line as a return going back to the tank. And this is going to achieve a massive increase in fuel flow available to the engine, and because now we have a massive fuel flow available at the engine, we also have a massive increase in the potential for horsepower that we can realize. Now, whether you use our Motec system or whether you use the factory system, if you've got a capable tuner, you should be able to exploit this additional capacity. So if your factory ECU reflasher can accommodate this increase in fuel flow, then you should also see a resultant increase in horsepower potential for your engine. So this kit, while we've designed it around our Motec system, will also, or should also, dependent on the skill of your tuner, be able to deliver a comparative increase in horsepower potential, dependent on where your engine's at, to the Motec system. So this has got to be a win for people using our Motec system. It's also got to be a win for people that have the factory reflash system. So this is kind of about what the system is. It's pure maths. It's not a particular individual moment of like intelligence or, you know, a world-shattering, you know, improvement value. It's just it's pure physics. If we can get more fuel to the front of the engine, if the tune can allow to burn that increase in fuel flow forward, then you should be able to see an improvement or an increase in the amount of horsepower delivered. Obviously, it works better with the Motec system because we can log and review all of this data. But if you've got a reflash system, or that's what you choose to use at this point in time, with our upgrade package, you should be able to see an increase in overall performance as well. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you're happy with what we're doing and we want to keep updated. But yeah, we're going to keep going with updates on this whole thing. Love for you to be a part of it. Look forward to seeing you then. Bye.